Advertisers looking to get involved with programmatic ads, how should they be thinking about how much to spend? What factors are involved there?
Sure. So it really depends on how big your business is, what kind of percentage of marketing you want to allocate to growing your business as a percentage of your total revenue or your total profit. So I know there will be a lot of ifs and buts in my answer, but let's assume that you've got, a decent mid-sized business, whatever it might be, regional, within a big region of the United States, or simply a state. I think what you should do is you should look, first of all, do an inventory of what you are currently doing. Okay. So are you buying on TV? Are you using direct mail? Are you using digital? Are you using search? Usually, because these are lower funnel media types, people would tend to do a bit of direct TV, a bit of sometimes print, sometimes radio, sometimes search, sometimes social. Now, once again, the world is changing, and of course, media consumption is changing. Right. More than half of YouTube ads are seen on a smart TV. And I'm sure a lot of the marketers do not think about that. So everything is moving towards digital. As soon as everything is moving towards digital, it is very fair to assume that probably the majority of your budgets should actually go to digital. So again, start with doing an inventory of where you are, and then start also understanding what are the limitations of my current marketing spend. Okay, beyond the creatives, beyond the positioning, just the media strategy. Am I seeing always the same customers? Sure. I am actually targeting always the same customers who do not need to be convinced, which is usually the problem you have with search and social. It looks good, but in reality, you're re-attracting the people who would have come to you anyway. I see. So as soon as you want to scale and expand your pool, this is where you need to think about so-called programmatic, which basically mean I would call it a 360 or a multifaceted digital strategy.
And I have to imagine that in each channel, there must be some amount of your current marketing budget that's not being spent efficiently. So of course, maybe you take some of your Google budget, your LinkedIn budget, chop off the lowest performing portion of that and then allocate it towards getting the low hanging fruit in programmatic.
I totally agree. The other thought I want to introduce is obviously, besides understanding the limitations of your current marketing budget and the way the advertising is being spent, the other thing, go back to your audience. Understand your audience. And if you understand your audience, the first question you need to ask yourself, where do they go? What kind of media do they consume?
Sure,
Do they have like fantastic and fancy smart TVs? Are they always on the go and looking at their mobile? And based on that, you'll be able to really define your strategy. So that's why it's not so much how much money and percentage of budget do I allocate to that big bucket called programmatic advertising, because again, it's a bit of a misnomer. You need to think more by different kind of buckets, which is display ads, video ads, DOH, which is billboard, digital billboards, CTV, native. There are so many sub-media types that you need to touch. The last thing I will say, now that you really started re-looking at your audience and understanding where they go and how you can reach them in the most efficient way, and also at which stage of what you call a consideration funnel, don't forget that in a world which, call it programmatic or digital, the big difference with the media and the advertising of, yesteryear is data. You collect data all the time in the new world. That means if you collect data, you are able to learn a lot, and you are able to also measure the efficiency of what you do beyond the usual ROI calculations. And that means the more you test your audience, the more you learn about your audience, the more you can refine your digital budgets and its allocation.
So then maybe it's not even so important how much money you start with, because once you are starting and you get the feedback, the performance data coming through, you can figure out how much you should spend on each tactic and in each channel, because we don't have to guess anymore, right?
Absolutely.
Like we have the attribution to know what's working and what isn't.
Absolutely, because of the data world and the extraordinary amount of data that you generate by running digital campaigns. The borders between the traditional concept of what media is about, which is, hey, here is a creative, spend it and spend it well so that I can see basically sales for my services or my product. Those borders are blurred because digital media is a fantastic source of learning about your customers.
Okay.
And so it's not so when you invest in digital media, you don't only invest in a delivery mechanism, but you also invest in basically refining your positioning, refining your product line, understanding about your sub-audiences, understanding about their needs, about what they think about you and your competitors, etc. So it's a fantastic wealth and source of knowledge.